and welcome to another edition of the Rotary Club of West Springfield's Legacy Stories. I'm Andromeda Fleury, and today with me is John Cataldo.
Hello.
Hello, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Same here.
So, can you tell me your full name, birth, and where you were born?
John Cataldo. I was born in Sarno, Italy, January 16, 1940.
How long have you lived in Westside?
65 years.
What changes in town have you noticed?
One of the big change was changed from the town to a city in my lifetime, which I thought it would never happen. It was such a nice little community at one time. But now we're a big-time city.
If you were born here, what brought you to Westside?
Well, I was born in Italy, like I said. I was born there. But I had a half American citizenship because of my father. My father was born in East Boston, and when he was 7, his parents took him back to Italy, and he stayed there until after he got married, and he and my mother and me. While he was in Italy, Mussolini, who was involved in the war with the Germans, drafted all the Italians, and they drafted my father. My father went to the American consul with a letter that was saying that he was drafted and asked him, what should I do? This was 1939. The ambassador that was over there said that for him could do his military duty with the Italian army. So my father said, how am I going to prove when I come back that I want to go to America? They said, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. They give him a letter saying that they okayed this, and naturally, the United States got involved in the war. And when the United States got involved with the war, Italy was against the United States. My father was fighting for Italy. Everything got mixed up. At the end of the war, that letter that he had, he brought back to the American consul in Naples. The American consul took the letter and ripped it up. He said, you fought against the United States, you lost all your citizenship. And it wasn't until 1952, when President Eisenhower got elected, that he changed the law where anybody that fought against the United States, not of their own free will, were given back the rights that they had as citizen. And because of that, I was my father's firstborn. I inherited half a citizenship. When I came to the United States, I was American citizen and Italian citizen. So I ended up being a citizen of both countries till I was 21. Then I told them, the Italians, to keep their citizenship.
So what was it like when you moved back to West Springfield?
When we first came to West Springfield, when my father and I first came from Italy, my father had a brother that lived in New Orleans, Louisiana. We went to him first, and we were in Louisiana for 2 months. Couldn't find any work. My father couldn't find any work. And the work that he did find, didn't think he was going to make enough money to bring the rest of the family from Italy. So he started writing letters to my mother's aunt in West Springfield, the Mancino. She responded by telling my father, "There's plenty of work here. Come up here." And they had found 3 jobs for him to. So the reason we were here because the work. When we arrived in Springfield by train, from Louisiana to Springfield by train, we took a taxi over the bridge into West Springfield. And I remember this, and I tell this to everybody that wants to listen. When my father paid the cab driver for the ride, he had $1. He gave the cab driver $1. The cab driver gave my father back 10 cents, and that was the only money we had when we got my aunt lived at 44 Sprague Street in West Springfield. We didn't have no money. it was, but it was still good because we were in America. That was, things were looking up big time, even though we didn't have no money. But he did start working the railroad, and not long after that, we were able to get an apartment and lived on 80 Sprague Street for a couple of years before we had ended up buying our own house. I'm going and going. I don't know how they can fix this, but the story was that we couldn't find a place to live. West Springfield was really, really conservative community, and we were looking up and down to try to get an apartment. There was 7 of us in the family. I had 4 siblings, myself, my mother, and father, and we couldn't find an apartment. So we had ended up buying a house with little money, a lot of talking like I'm doing now, and a lot of good people that helped out. Because if you don't have that, there's nothing you can do. So West Springfield has always been a good community for me and my family. That's how we ended up being here.
Are there any additional special memories that you have growing up here?
Yes. I when I was I didn't go to school. They put me in school for 2 years because of my age, and when I became 16 years of age, I had to go to work because that was part of my. I was part of the family income. In fact, there was a couple of occasions where I brought home into the family more money than my father did. So it was a big help to the family for me to work and not go to school. But prior to that, they used to have minstrel shows every year at Main Street, Immaculate Conception. That was the school. And I used to do a little bit of singing. And whoever had the minstrel show would want me to come down, and sing, because I did 3, I think most of it, I did 3 songs, Italian songs that I knew by heart. And that was great. But when I asked about going to school there, now they said, you don't know enough English.
That's so...
But it was like that, we were learning about West Springfield. That's the way it was. You would think that they would say, "John, come here. You sing for us. You can come over here and we'll teach you, you know. No, that wasn't the case.
What were some of your earliest memories here in West Springfield?
The earliest memories I have, they put me in Main Street School. It's not there anymore now. But there was this incident that happened at that school. I couldn't speak and I didn't understand. Every reaction that I have was to what you were. I would look at you and I see what you were trying to say. That was how we communicated. Well, during recess, Main Street School had a big backyard, and the kids used to play football and soccer. They used to play soccer because there wasn't enough room for football. And I noticed this big kid, Tony Gamel. He was, I was 90, I don't know, I must have weighed 90 pounds. He was way bigger than me, and he was bigger than most of the kids. And one day I noticed that he had grabbed the soccer ball, you know, and he was bullying everybody off the ball. And I says, well, you know, you couldn't do that. I've seen a little soccer in Italy, and that's not the way you played. I said, you know, you can't do that. So I went up to him, and he was so taller than me that when I grabbed him around the waist like this, I bit him on his breast. draw,
That must have
draw,
hurt.
drawing blood. But as bad as it was, all these kids that were afraid of this guy, they come up to me and they wanted to be friends. They wanted me to protect them. In fact, after a year, Tony wanted me to protect them too, because that was something that I remember for West
Did you have any
Springfield.
siblings, and what were they like?
I have I had a brother and three sisters. My brother passed away. One of my sisters passed away. Now it's me and two of my siblings still. They're hard workers. We for us, it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. We had to grow up too quick. There was no enjoyment. My upbringing was horrendous. So for me and my siblings, it was miserable. We had a miserable life with my father.
Did you have any specific childhood stories of your siblings?
Well, one of the stories, but it's not fun. It was very sad. My my younger sister, she's 1 year younger than me. I remember in Italy she had gotten water in her knee, and the doctor that came to drain the knee, they put her on a table with no medication. Put her on the table, and I could see the four people holding her down, and she's screaming, and the doctor's cutting into the knee to drain the water out, whatever was in there that was blowing up her knee. That was one of the memories that was sad. I could never lose that. I could never get rid of something like that. There's more, but realistically, we don't want to go into too much more.
Do you have any happy memories of your siblings?
When we found out that we could come to America, that was That was a big celebration. That was a big celebration for us, because as bad as things were in Italy, over here they were 1,000 times better, 1,000 times better. When I hear people talk about the United States, that upsets me so much, because they, most people don't understand what this country is about. This country gives everybody the opportunity to do it. Maybe you're not going to have a Cadillac, you're not going to have a Mercedes, but you're going to have transportation. You're going to have a car. Where I come from in Italy, if you didn't have a horse, you didn't have nothing. You couldn't get a donkey. You couldn't get anything else. You and it was unbelievable that people would talk. And when I see young kids today over here get upset with the United States, they want to burn the flag and they want to do this, I say, send them back to where they think they'd be better off. There isn't another country in the world that has to fight to keep people out. Most of the countries, people want to leave. Why would they want to leave if it's so good over there? Why would they want to leave? I have a hard time. So there wasn't too many good memories of my childhood, except I could sing a little bit. And I remember when my father and I came across on a big ship. I remember I made $7.50 singing one night in, what do they call it? The eatery, or, the restaurant on the ship. That was my beginning. I said, this is it. This is the country.
So growing up, what were your friends like?
Workers. There were workers. We, like I said, we didn't do too much socializing. And when you say playing, we didn't do too much of that. Everything that we did had to do with work and production. You had to be able to produce, even in the household, you had to produce to survive. Even though you say, well, geez, everybody's here. Yeah, everybody's here, and everybody had their things that they were doing. We didn't. We didn't. There was a lot of times where friends, neighborhood friends, would come over and say, let's go play ball, or let's do this, or we couldn't do it. We couldn't do it.
So, like, what kind of things did they like to do, like during their off time when they did have any, for fun?
Mm. And like I said, there wasn't too much of that. There wasn't too much of that going on. I did some singing, but that was when I was a little bit older. When I was a little bit older, I used to do quite a bit of singing. And I sang in Mountain Park. I don't know if you ever heard of it. Mountain Park was a park just like Riverside, only a small scale. And every Saturday they would have
Yeah. Is it in Holyoke?
in Holyoke, yes, they would have a contest entertaining, and they'd have a musician and whoever wanted to appear. And I did pretty good. I won three times. I won, but I got beat the last one. I got beat by a rock and roll band.
What kind of songs did you sing?
Mostly the Italian that I knew, O Solo Mio, Sorrento, Mama, Maria. I sang about 4 or 5 of them that people seemed to enjoy because there was a lot of Italians in West Springfield that liked that. I remember the first time I sang Mama at Immaculate Conception. The first time I seen women crying because there's this little kid over here and singing Mama. I don't know if you're familiar with the song at all, but it's very, very touching.
Do you remember any of the lyrics?
Oh, I remember a lot of the lyrics. Could we do it here? I could do a little bit of here.
Yeah.
Would it be okay?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Okay. Mamma, solo per te la mia canzone vola. Mamma, sarai con te, tu non sarai più solo.
That was really great.
That was one of
It's
them.
really good.
I could do a few of them, but the voice is gone a little bit.
Yeah.
It left me a while ago. But that's okay. That was one of them. And I did a Sorrento and did a Solo Mio.
What were your classmates like? Like, what would they remember you by?
By that, singing. When I was here in West Springfield, they used to, they put me in junior high because of my age, not because I knew anything about, they were trying to teach me. But one of the things that I remember that they used to do, the teachers from the other classes would have me go in and sing a couple of songs to the kids. it was entertaining for them. But I could do it. I have no trouble, doing that. I used to walk from at that time was the neighborhood house. Now it's Boys and Girls Club. I used to walk from there to 80 Sprague Street, and I used to sing all the way down Sprague Street. I don't know if I sang because I was scared to walk in the dark, but whatever it was, there would be women that would have me come in the house and say, John, come over here. And they wanted to hear a song. I would do that. So that was my way of getting around and about.
So, would you say that was one of your best memories of school, or is there anything to top that?
No, I did. Well, I don't think it would top it. I think that was the best part. But I did ask one night, I got asked by this school band. They had I think there was a 5-piece band. They called me up. They wanted me to go with them singing. Like I told you before, I couldn't do that because, again, I had to work to support the family, which was fine. That was fine. I was glad that I was able to do it.
So, we know that you were a great singer and such, but what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a cowboy. I wanted to be a cowboy, but I wasn't. It wasn't in my cards. It wasn't.
How come? Why cowboy?
Well, cowboys. That's when we first went to New Orleans, Louisiana. For the 2 months that we were down there, with my uncle and his family, he had 5 stepchildren, and they used to go to this ranch where they had horses and livestock. I always loved horses. We didn't have any, but I'd love to see them. So that was the reason. Then I thought maybe I could be a movie star. No,
So, since you didn't become a cowboy, what did you do as a career?
I was a laborer. I worked in food distributed warehouse for 32 years. We used to load and unload trucks. We used to deliver. I mean the company used to deliver food up to Maine, down to New York, all along the East Coast. So I ended up doing that, not because I liked it, but because it was a job that I could do and I could support my family.
So, are you still working or volunteering at all?
No. I retired when I was 57, and I've been retired for 21 years. If I did any work after that, it was mostly for the family or for myself. I didn't want to go to work anymore. I did it for so many years and for so long that I think my body's is giving out on me.
So, what led you to the jobs that you had?
Money. It was money. There were good paying jobs, not great. They were good. They were better than what I had, and that was the main reason.
What lessons has your work life taught you?
Go to school, get an education, and I'm happy because all my wife and I had three girls, and they all did well with school. So we're happy that we're moving up. We're moving up, if not wealth wise, education wise, school. That was that. And it's not easy. It's not easy. When when you are working, and West Springfield is doing a lot of good things with their education. They're doing a lot of good things, more than they used to. When I first came from Italy, I was one of the first person that West Springfield had tried to deal with. They didn't know what to do with me because I couldn't speak. I couldn't understand anything. So they decided to put me, like I said, I was small. I weighed about 90 pounds. They put me with kids that were more or less the same size. They put me in the class. I didn't know what they were saying. But since they have improved quite a bit.
If you could do anything now, what would you do and why?
Well, if I do anything now, like you mean work or life? At at 78, I don't think there's too much. I just want to sit back and enjoy my family, enjoy my wife, my daughters, my grandchildren, my son-in-laws. I enjoy everything about the family and the family life. To me, that's what. If I'm still here in a year or two, I'd be telling you the same thing, because that's, to me, that's what life is. Life is family.
Hello and welcome back to West Side Legacy Stories. I'm your host Andromeda Fleury, and with me is John Cataldo. So we're going to jump back into historical periods. So John, your family was in Italy for the World War II and the Great Depression. So what was it like for them, and how were you affected?
The Great Depression was very painful for everybody, but World War II was more painful because our beloved leader, Mussolini, decided to uh, pack it in with the Germans, Hitler, and that made things really bad for the Italians once the United States got involved in the war. So it was a bad situation. We didn't have mostly any food, and we were farmers. We should have had our own food supply. But what was happening is that they were taking the food for the military, and the people that lived on the farm had to steal their own food in order to survive. And I can remember my mother and father cooking up wild grass from the field, cooking it for meals. And you say, well, I don't know. I don't know how we did it, but that's what they did. They used to make what they called chestnut bread. The chestnut bread, they used to make the chestnuts and they would make bread with them. The thing was like lead. Once it dried out, you couldn't chew it. You couldn't chew it. You had to soak it in water for days before you could bite into it. But that was the only thing we could eat. That's the only thing we had.
So during the 1950s, where were you then, and what do you recall about that time?
Well, in the 50s, I was still in Italy. I didn't come to the United States till 1953, September 1953. So the 50s for me, were bad. Were bad. I was growing up at a time when my father was hurting because he was in the service for Italy. He he threw acid in his ear. Him and four other friends of his threw acid in their ears so they would be rejected from the military. They wanted to get out of the military. So that's what he did. Out of the five that did this, he was the only one that survived. Well, the other four put too much acid in their ears, and it killed them. It killed them. My father probably should have been dead as well because he had his ear was oozing out every day. They had to take care of it medically, but he lost his ear, and they kicked him out. They threw him out of the service, which that's what he wanted to do, get out.
So in the 1960s, there were a lot of events that happened. So by then you were in America, yes?
Yes, yes.
So things like Vietnam, the space program, the Cuban Missile, Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy. So how did those affect you, those events during that time?
Well, I had met my wife in 1960. The end of 1960, I met my wife, and we were really, really getting together, trying to maybe work at getting married and stuff. And I got drafted in Vietnam. They had drafted me, but while we were contemplating getting married, everything got put on a hold. And when I went to the draft board, they examined me, they looked me over, and they rejected me. They said I didn't know enough of the English language to be drafted. But they did say that if anything happened where they would be able to come back and get me if they could use me. So I was left with that, which was, was better than going to Vietnam, because that Vietnam War was a big split in the United States. The people, the kids in the United States, the college kids, all of them, they knew what was going on. They didn't want to go over there to get killed for nothing. You couldn't blame them. A lot of them did.
So, how did you feel not being drafted then?
Not serving, I felt great. I felt great. I would have been upset if there was hurt in this country. Somebody, I still, like I told you before, I still get upset when somebody says anything bad about the United States. And we know that they're not perfect. Not a lot of the stuff isn't perfect, but it's 100 times better than what they have outside of the United States. I don't care what country it is. So,
So,
yeah.
yeah. In the 1970s, what was it like for you? What were you doing then?
Well, then I was married, uh, working for our family. It was very nice. It was a better life that I had prior to that, because it was I could see where our children were going. Uh, Hard work, keep working hard and keep looking ahead, because there was something to work for.
So, so what kind of specific events went on during the 1970s, and like how were you involved in any? Like there was the women's rights, the Watergate scandal.
I wasn't involved in any of that, the Watergates and to me the Watergates, they made a big deal of it because the the press said it was a big deal, but all the presidents before President Nixon got caught doing that, but they were all doing it. They had done it before. They had done doing the Roosevelt administration, but nobody said nothing because the newspapers, it's all right. If the Kennedy kills somebody, and it's okay, but if anybody else killed anybody, the press would be all upset to get all excited about somebody doing something like that. How bad it was, but the press liked the people. They liked those politicians. Nothing was ever said. Everything was always covered up.
So what are
So
yeah? So what are some of your memories from then?
that's one of them. That was one of the memories that I have. The other one is the other ones is the children's that we have. We have three daughters, and we're excited when they came into our lives. So those are the memories that I would say they're at the top of the list, outside of meeting their mother. That was, I'm Italian, she's Portuguese. We met at, well, we met at the park. Mountain Park had a dance, I call it a dance hall, but it was a pavilion. Every Saturday we used to go there dancing. And that's where I met my wife the first time that I ever saw her. I danced with her all night, drank champagne, pink champagne, and at the end of the night, she wouldn't even give me her phone number.
Wow.
It was, you, you know how that was. Where all my buddies over there, you couldn't even get her phone number. What's wrong with you? But I lucked out because 6 months later, we went dancing to the Roseland Ballroom in Holyoke. It's gone now. We went dancing there, and that was the night of the nights. I saw her coming up the stairs. It was like, we're here. You know, sometimes you meet somebody and it's like a magnet. We've been together ever since. 60
So,
60 some odd years.
are there any other times, historical periods, that you might have had some really poignant memories?
Well, I have a lot of them now since retirement. That was one of the big thing when I was able to retire, and I thought I'd have to work till I was 75, 80 years old before I could retire. So that was a good memory for me when I retired. And I know you probably, they probably want to ask, well, what do you do? What do you do? I I remember when I was working, some of my coworkers would say, well, what do you do for fun? What do you do for fun? I says, well, for fun for me was being home and being able to spend the time with my kids and my family. You mean you don't go play? You don't play golf? You don't bowl? You don't do this? You don't do that? And I said, I'm sorry. After working, a lot of hours,
Do you have any children? How many, and what were they like?
three lovely girls. We have three lovely girls, and one is greater than the other. They're just beautiful kids, and I don't know if it's just in the genes or what, but they're hardworking kids. They have two of them have great families. One of them is a teacher. She's got a lot of kids. She has a lot of kids.
Do you have any funny family stories?
Not
Or
not
maybe
really. I don't think they're funny. I remember taking my first grandson, Dominic. I remember taking him to the watershed, and we're looking along the shoreline over there, and he spotted somebody had left a line. He had left a line in the water, and for some reason he saw it, and it was cold. It was in the fall. He decided to walk in the water to get it. The little shyster, he was only like this.
oh,
He walks right into the water to get the line. It's all soaked, wet. It's about, I don't know, maybe about a quarter of a mile from our house to where the water is. And the little shyster, he scared the hell out of me. He scared the hell out of me. I had to run pick them up and run. And at that time, I think I was about 260 pounds, which was a lot of weight, too much weight for me. After it happened, though, it was funny, that nothing happened. But that's it. Those are the memories that I have. Stuff like that. I used to take the grandchildren into the reservoir and sometimes put their names on trees as we were walking along.
So you spent some time in Florida, I guess? So, like with your family. So, what were some memories from then?
From Florida,
Yes.
there were good memories also when they used to come down and visit us. But it was nice down there. I used to go walk on the beach almost every day until I started having trouble with my back. Um, the same thing down there, though, it was just the wife and I. And when the kids used to come down to see us, there were good memories. There were good memories. But to say what were the best memories? The best memories is which what you make, what you make here with your loved ones. Those are the best memories. For me, that's what they are. That's why I asked you about your grandmother. Where is she, in California?
Yes, she lives in
That's
California now.
that's too far away.
Yeah,
Do you get to see her much?
sometimes.
Not much, though.
So, what are your grandchildren like?
Oh, they're beautiful. Beautiful. Let me see. I gotta. No, no, I don't have all their pictures.
How many do you have? How many grandkids?
Seven, seven, five boys and two girls. Four of them that they were homeschooled for till they got to junior high, and they graduated from the high school here. One of them, the oldest one, is an English school teacher in Agawam. Very nice grandchildren. Very nice family.
Who do you think is the most important person in your life?
My wife. My wife. Did you hear that? She is. She is. To be able to tolerate somebody like me for all those years. It's going to be 56 years married.
What was the happiest moment? What is the happiest moment in your life? What was?
Uh, I think the happiest one had to be when we found out that we could come to America. That was a big moment for our family. For me personally, it was when my kids were born, my children, that were important.
What are the most important lessons that you learned in life?
And I was going to tell you this too. The most important thing is that we should have two words taken out of the English language: me and I. They shouldn't be in the language. It should be we and us, because we and us can get everything done. Me and I doesn't work too well, because when people start thinking of themselves and talking about themselves, how well they are or how well they don't do nothing. It's when us and we get together that things get done.
So, what are your proudest moments in your life?
Well, the proudest moment in my life is to see life come around to me, without asking for it. You know, sometimes you get things you don't have to ask for it. They just come. They come to you because you're deserving of it. And to me, that's the proudest thing that you can have.
Was there anything that we didn't get to that you'd like to talk about?
No, I think we got everything in. I think we got everything in. I had one thing I wanted to say, but I it's not a big deal. So I'm not going to say it. I think we covered everything.
Yeah. How would you most like to be remembered?
I would like to be remembered as a working person that never stole anything from anybody. I would like to be remembered as that, just a working person.
This has been another edition of the Rotary Club of West Springfield's Legacy Stories. I'm Andromeda Fleury. Take care, everybody.